Tonight with the price of oil and whether it is an accurate reflection of the political situation in the Persian Gulf. If you were inclined to buy oil on the world market today, it was $5 a barrel cheaper than it was on Friday. And that is the largest one-day drop in the price of a barrel since they began trading oil in 1938. And because oil went down $6 last week, it appears that the oil traders do not think that war is in the winds. At least not at the moment. Here's ABC's Stephen Ogg.
The price of oil has not been rising because of an actual shortage, but rather because oil traders feared a potential shortage if war should break out. Now, prices are falling because those traders believe war is less likely, sometimes for strange reasons.
Certainly, the downward move today was being driven by one rumor in the London markets that Saddam Hussein had a dream that told him to pull out of Kuwait.
Since October 10th, when it hit a high of $41.15 a barrel, oil has dropped to $28.38 a barrel today. But don't look for that big drop to be reflected very quickly at the gasoline pump. Oil companies say until now, the price of gasoline has not gone up as much as the price of oil.
The crude cost is up approximately 42 cents a gallon between the end of July and the end of last week. Yet most companies have only recovered between 25 and 30 cents per gallon.
And that's one reason why third-quarter profits at some oil companies are only mediocre. Another reason, many of these companies also are in the business of using oil to make chemicals, and they've had to pay the market price for oil at a time when demand for chemicals is down. At Amoco, the fifth largest oil company, profits from its oil, gas, and chemical business actually fell 18% from a year ago. Occidental Petroleum says its profits hardly budged. Other companies like Oryx Energy did much better because they produce oil and nothing else. The oil companies should make less money if prices remain down, but all you need is tough talk by Saddam Hussein or George Bush to send oil prices back through the roof. Stephen Ogg, ABC News, Washington.
In the Middle East itself, in Baghdad today, the leader of an Iraqi-American group says he's been promised that some sick and elderly Americans will be allowed to leave. No word how many or when. And diplomats in Baghdad have apparently received a letter from Americans and other foreigners who say they're being held at a gas storage facility, which might be a possible target if war should break out. They say that being held is inhumane and a violation of international law. In the Gulf of Oman, an Iraqi freighter that had ignored warning shots over the weekend was stopped and boarded for a second time today. U.S. and Australian sailors, however, found the ship empty. The Pentagon says it believes the freighter had been carrying a load of steel tubes and plywood to sell in Yemen, but dumped the cargo overboard rather than have it confiscated. In general, by the way, the coordination of the various navies patrolling in the Gulf area has been smooth. But cases like this remind many military analysts, not for the first time, of how and who would run the whole multinational operation in the Gulf, where so many different political agendas are involved, if war does break out. ABC's Bill Rediker is in Saudi Arabia tonight.
This is the war room, where American and Saudi commanders will plot battlefront moves if fighting breaks out. U.S. General Norman Schwarzkopf is supposed to be in charge, but must first consult with the top Saudi general and King Fahd. No one is saying who will have the last word if they disagree. And there's no guarantee the French will follow anyone's orders. They insist they're independent. Nor is there any guarantee the Egyptians will even attack. They say they are here only to defend. But that's not the only problem. Here in the desert, confusion surrounds even the simplest combined military maneuver. For 2 days, reporters were promised a visit to a live fire exercise where U.S. and Saudi forces would work side by side. But there were no Saudis. One official said they'd finished early. Another said they weren't ready. Still another said communications broke down. Americans say they need contact with Saudis, if only to learn how to recognize them.
I don't think we can tell each other apart like the Saudis. I don't think we can tell them apart from, from the Iraqis.
With more than 350,000 troops from 25 countries now deployed here, coordination is critical to avoid confusion. For example, Soviet T-72s are the main battle tanks of the Iraqis. But the Syrians here also use them.
So it's going to be a problem trying to recognize which one's friendly and which one's hostile, if it happens.
It's a much worse problem in the air because everything happens so fast. French Gazelle helicopters and Mirage fighter jets are flying on both sides of the border.
The great risk is what is called a blue-on-blue encounter. In other words, friendly air defenses, for example, firing on friendly aircraft.
Language is not a major problem. Most field commanders can talk to Americans in English, but the communications equipment they use is not always compatible.
We've got multinational forces that have non-NATO standardized equipment. And when you have a situation where forces can't coordinate battle attacks, it very often has resulted in chaos.
No one here doubts the political necessity of maintaining a multinational force against Saddam Hussein. But on the ground, making it work militarily, making the Allies truly allied under one command, is difficult. Bill Redeker, ABC News, Saudi Arabia.
The Gulf News for today. Later in the broadcast, we'll have a report on the return of the wooden bridge, a question of strength, not just nostalgia. And tonight, we investigate one of the world's largest animal supply companies. Where does it get the cats which show up in high school biology classes?